You are in a customer service role, you need to learn how to handle customer that is upset. One of our clients who owns a stadium for soccer that use this tool to train the game day employees who get very little training, but they actually interact with the fans face to face. And it can be, okay, how do I practice how to give directions inside the stadium? Or how do I practice the processes that are on the moment somebody comes to you and say, I lost my child?
Are you a scaling SaaS founder? Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those you don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where AI learns from humans, proving that even machines need our bad tweets and weird Google searches to truly understand the art of chaos. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I hope B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. Corporate training. What comes to mind? I mean, just hearing the phrase may make you groan a little bit. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that. Yeah, neither do your people. Yeah, you picture long PowerPoints, awkward role playing exercises, and information you'll forget before your next coffee break. It's a little time suck with a side of boredom. And let's be honest, it's not really how people learn. Let's hope that none of this training is compliance related, right? But here's the thing, training doesn't have to be this way. It's no longer about dumping content into digital libraries or cranking out 100 video tutorials, even with AI. We're talking about engagement, real engagement, and how to know if your people are actually absorbing what they need in order to succeed, especially things like compliance or processes. Today, learning is getting a glow up. Advances in personalization and technology are flipping the script, making training not just effective, but downright engaging. And did I mention cutting edge AI is stepping in to supercharge personalization and motivation in ways you probably never thought possible? Here's the big question. Is your company stuck in the training stone age, or are you ready to embrace a smarter, sharper, and more human way to learn? Last Thursday on our SaaS Fuel Expert Series, we had John Golden, Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at Pipeliner CRM. John shared how to transform sales with user friendly CRM systems and smarter collaboration. From aligning sales and marketing to leveraging AI for better interactions, John delivered actionable insights for improving efficiency and relationships. Want to know how to make your CRM a tool that your team actually loves? This episode definitely has the answers. And our founder last Tuesday was Nikita Bigdaroff, the resilient founder of Maildoso. Nikita has cracked the code on outbound email marketing and email infrastructure mastery. He laid out the entire strategy step by step by step. I mean, something every SaaS founder needs to know. It's so good, so detailed that I almost wanted to keep it a secret, but I'd never do that to you guys. So if you missed either episode, go back and give them a listen. My guest today is Luis Garcia, with 25 years of experience driving innovation at the intersection of technology, media, and education. Luis is a trailblazer in scaling new ventures and solving complex challenges. As a president of Pete, an AI powered learning platform, Luis is redefining how organizations personalize workforce training at scale. In this episode, he shares cutting edge insights on leveraging AI to engage learners, evaluate understanding, and transform training initiatives. Welcome, Luis Garcia. Hey, Luis, welcome to SaaS Fuel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, you've led both large scale ventures and startups. What are some of the key leadership lessons you learned that apply universally to big companies and to small companies?
That's a great question, Jeff. People will be surprised to know that a lot of the principles are the same when it comes to leadership. And whether you're in a big company and a big organization and you're starting something new inside of that, or whether you are, by yourself, starting a new company, a startup, and asking people for money, and either way, they're buying into you.
Yes.
And whether is inside the organization, they want to make sure that you want that they can trust you and to give you the responsibility to start and grow something new. And whether somebody's signing a check of their own to give it to you and trust their money, hard-earned money, investing in your idea. Either way, that they are invested in you.
Love that. Well, when you're scaling up an organization, how do you balance the need for rapid growth, which we definitely want to do, especially in the early days? The faster as fast as possible. How do you balance that while also maintaining a strong company culture?
I think that it's all about authenticity, and people throw that word a lot around these days, but it doesn't make it less true that also when you are in a startup, whether it's inside a company or outside or on your own, they're also trusting you with their time, and they want to make sure that you care for them. And so as long as the objectives are clear and that you really show that you care and you can balance accountability with care, and those things can coexist. You don't It doesn't mean driving accountability doesn't mean that you're gonna run people to the ground. It means that you're gonna set the right expectations and you're gonna work with the employee to meet those expectations, because we're all swimming in the same direction. So
I
startups
like
are
it.
really hard, and most of them fail. And so you have to make sure that people are taken care of, that you're listening to their needs, that you're catering to what they need and to do their jobs. But at the same time, it's a two-way street. While you're doing
Yeah,
that, you're demanding from them their best, and so we can all achieve the same thing. I think that what you cannot have is a culture without accountability, because it's demoralizing for those that are trying to be high performers, and also you have really no room for mistakes. I mean, you will make a lot of mistakes, but you have to make sure that, because it's so hard, that you're going in the right direction. So if somebody's swimming in the wrong direction, it's better not to have that person. And this thing is really, really hard when we all want the same thing, and when somebody doesn't want the same thing, then that also can create a bad culture. So identifying the people
yeah,
that want to be with you in this journey, and that respecting them, leaving them the room to do their job, while at the same time holding them accountable. I think that's what the principles that I believe.
love that. Well, something else that is universally true for big companies and small companies is in hiring people, training is always a challenge.
Yes.
And that is a problem that you solve. I mean, how do you go about that?
So people are at the center of what makes a business thrive. I think we all agree on that. Regardless of the product or what you do, people are at the center of it. And training them is well, first of all, finding them and hiring the right person is very, very important. I take it very seriously, because it's the only thing that you can control. Very few things that you can control in business, and
True.
who you hire you can absolutely control, right? So very strong focus on that. But once you hire those people, getting them the right training is critical. Training is a superpower, and large companies have an advantage. They have money to create specialized programs, onboarding programs, compliance, whatever they need the people to learn. They usually have the money and departments with resources dedicated to that. But when you're smaller, and if you're really small, you can train each other. Word of mouth goes a long way, up until about 30, 50 employees, and then it doesn't work anymore. And you're a small organization, you don't have those resources to go ahead and hire people that all they do is create training materials for you and run training programs. So that's the problem that we identified and wanted to solve using artificial intelligence, is that this process of translating expertise into a training material or training journey or a learning experience is really hard. It's very expensive. It takes time. Usually you solve that problem by pulling your leaders and your experts from their jobs and say, okay, train the next you, and
Right.
then the next you, and so on. It works when you're small, but then when you become bigger, it doesn't scale, and then you're losing the employee. to a job that they're not actually prepared to do, and they don't actually, then the person is a disservice also for the new people coming in. So we wrote a software that automates that process, and that you can take existing knowledge in whatever format and then turn it into a learning experience. And that has two components to it. One is the actual creation of training materials, which is in it itself a difficult thing to do, but also the evaluation of learning. So how do I know that the person actually learned? And that
Right.
is a problem that has evaded educators for a very long time. And so we also build tools for that.
That's really smart because it's one thing to have, and I think we've probably all been in roles over the years where you're required to watch some sort of training and things like that. And a lot of times it's just a check the box exercise.
Absolutely.
It's not something that people pay attention to. There's nothing retained. So I really like that you're really connecting those dots of here's the training, and here's how we make sure that you actually paid attention and got something out of it, at least the important nuggets. How do you
Absolutely.
make that happen?
Yeah. So we are very used to in the learning experience to be fixed in time and variable in learning. And so
Ah,
you sit in the learning experience, whether it's a semester at school or a course that you take online, and usually is fixed in time. Everybody was sitting in that classroom for the same amount of time. And so you say, I took a 2 hour course or a 10 month course,
right.
and but the learning is variable, and some people got more of
Yeah.
those things, some other people, there's a lot of gaps there. So what you want to do is to make sure that you flip that and say, well, the timing should be variable, but the learning should be fixed. Everybody should have learned the
Ah,
exact same thing. So how do you do that? The way the the way to do that is to engage every learner one-on-one and be able to evaluate the knowledge of that person through question and answers, through exercise, through projects, through a bunch of stuff. And but that is really not scalable. It's not even scalable in a traditional classroom. The instructor cannot spend hours and hours and hours with every single student in the classroom and doing that. It's not scalable. That's why somebody invented tests, which are terrible to evaluate learning, but they're very effective for the instructor to to be able to put a grade. And so you can really have multiple conversations at scale. And but with digital agents and AI, you can. So what we did is we built an engine that we call a skills engine that can act as an instructor and then engage each learner one-on-one, trying to understand if they understood the materials against the learning outcomes, and continue to ask questions until everything is evaluated. While we're doing that, we say, well, as long as it's an engine, let's use it for different things too. So you can also use that engine to be a customer. So you can act like a customer. Part of the learning is
ah,
learning on the job. So if you are training for a job in sales, you need to practice how to handle objections. And if you are in a customer service role, you need to learn how to handle a customer that is upset. And one of our clients who owns a stadium for soccer, the professional soccer league here in Orlando, the team is called Orlando City, and I use this tool to train the game day employees who get very little training, but they actually interact with the
wow.
fans face to face. And it can be, okay, how do I practice how to give directions inside the stadium? Or how do I practice the processes that are spawned the moment somebody
Wow.
comes to you and
That's
say, I lost
important.
my child? So yeah, that's important, right? And so, or the tellers of a bank, we have a bank that uses our software to train tellers, and which 80 or 90% of the cases that come to them in the queue of people, they know how to handle. But there's a percentage of cases that are unique or they don't usually handle. And then at that moment, they had to pick up the phone and start calling departments inside the bank to see how to deal with that particular case. So they use our skills engine to practice those cases, and so that they
Okay.
don't have to call people and have a better service. So all of that goes into evaluation of learning, not only answering questions but also practicing the situations. So we have the skills engine to manage that.
And that's how you really know if somebody's proficient or
Yeah,
not, when you have that interaction and you can actually use those real life
that's
scenarios.
right.
So it's not just head knowledge, but it's actual practical knowledge. And then as they come across those boundary scenarios and where they would normally have to call out, is that something that's really easy to add into the platform or start to handle those edge cases?
Yes, absolutely, and that's what the magic. But you have to create when you have to create training materials. You have to train the AI to have the knowledge to create a course, right? And so, in
Okay.
essence, you're creating a knowledge base of unstructured data. So the knowledge is usually already there. And so you just got to tell the AI to access those cases. We always add ability to refine and add more detail into whatever activity we create in add additional instructions or so on. So yes, it's relatively easy to do. Some companies have already those processes already documented. In that case, it's just as easy as uploading a file, and others have that in their head. So sometimes we gotta record them saying them, and then we turn that into a transcript and then use that as an input. And we have found interesting ways to get the knowledge out, the expertise. But is once you have it, it's very easy to do.
Yeah. What are maybe some misconceptions about integrating generative AI into training programs? And could it be like hallucinations or how do companies address some of the perceived
Yeah,
risks?
so some of the concerns that we have heard in the past are technical. From the security point of view, is our knowledge being shared publicly with LLMs, and that then this proprietary information is making out in the world. So that's one concern. And in our software, we fence every customer so that doesn't happen. And we don't prompt for training. So that's the way we handle it. Some other misconceptions are they don't need me, and which is not true. And is very much assisting those people to create courses. And most of the time, they they have more than they can handle. So our tool really supercharges training departments to be able to scale. And another preconception is that the hallucinations, some people concerned about that. We have worked really hard to eliminate those, but it's really assisting you. The course is not being created on the fly and shown to a learner without no human in the loop. There is a human in the loop at all times, creating the course, approving the course, making sure that everything is accurate and the way that they want it to express. And then there's the other side of the misconception. If I have this, I don't need to do any work. So,
Ah,
and which is not true either. It's a tool to assist humans, and therefore there is some work involved, and just not nearly as much as if you were going through traditional methods of creating training programs.
like that. It's a smart way to do that, and especially having the human in the loop
Yes.
through every stage of the process. So it's not completely replacing the human element, but it's guided by humans and making sure that the information communicated is what you want to deliver.
Yes.
And fencing customers too. That's really big. Not using it for training, so all that data stays private.
Yes. The data stays private.
Yeah. So what does the future of personalized learning look like? Is it going to be more AI, more human? Is it, are we going to clone trainers or what is your view of the future?
Well, it's funny you mentioned cloning trainers, and because we do believe that it's important for the learner to hear from an expert. The authority figure is still important, and so we from the very beginning we incorporated voice into the narration of the courses, and we highly encourage for whoever the expert is in the field that the course is being created to use his voice or her voice. So we clone that voice, and then when we create the courses, the narratives of the courses, the explanation of the slides, if you want the lessons, come in the voice of the expert, or sometimes the CEO if it's an onboarding program. But anyway, so that adds a human touch to it, but also as an authoritative figure that is important to have.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
in regards to the future of learning, I think that it gets me really excited because it's been really hard to scale a digital learning and to be scalable and effective at the same time. I've been in education for a very long time. I've been in digital education for a very long time, and it solved the problem of distribution. You can get to more people now in this format, but it also brought these problems, which is you gotta create materials that are good, that can perform the training, and that had limited a lot of organizations to have effective training programs. And then also didn't really solve the problem that we were talking about assessment, evaluation of learning, because it's really hard to
Yeah.
do at scale. So I would say that digital learning got learning in a lot of places, but didn't get effective learning in a lot of places. So the future of learning is one in which learning programs are a lot more effective, and it's a lot less intensive, less costly to create them.
Yeah. And being effective, is that more that personalized learning
Yeah,
experience?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's, if you we have run at the very beginning we run tests and we've taken the exact same course and deliver it in different formats for different people. So if I have an onboarding for, and actually we're just talking to a chain of restaurants right now that want the same onboarding, but the waiters have a slightly different examples, a different language, and how they what they get out of the
Mm,
onboarding versus the bartenders. And in the past, you literally have to sit down and kind of think about totally different courses. In our case, we can very effectively create several versions of the course, but it comes from the same root. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and it can be delivered. Now, in the future, I do believe that what we can do is with a lot more automation is learn a lot more about the learner and
mm,
based on performance, because every time you're learning about a topic you develop gaps. There's certain things that you don't will not dominate as well as certain others,
right.
and the way to address that problem in the past is like kind of take a very average approach to it. It's like, well, most people don't get this particular concept well, or these four concepts really well. Let's create modules just for those. So we call those
Yeah.
micro learning, and just address those things. But usually, again, you have to teach to the middle and kind of take the most common cases. I think there's a future not too far away in which those are created automatically and delivered specifically for each learner in whatever engages that learner the best.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think that would really help with just the employee engagement through the training. So that's going to make retention higher. But most companies don't do that because it's hard. You have one onboarding for everybody, and it is more impersonal, and it's a lot more general than it probably should be. But just your example of the waiters get one onboarding training, and the bartenders get something different that's really specific to their role. That's really interesting and something that would be very difficult to do just a few years ago.
I actually I will extend that idea that you mentioned. In no educational organization have been able to do it. When you go to traditional school, everybody gets the same course,
Yeah, always.
and when you go to actually in K to 12, then you got honors and things, so you can get in a way a different version of the course that could be more advanced in the and it's not across the board, it's per topic, so there's a little bit of that, but never personalized, never to you. And when you go to college, definitely you everyone is taking this because it's very
Yeah.
expensive to have personalized learning, and you can't really do it without automation. And so I think the future is true personalized learning.
That's really good. It is just I just think about that, and the college is a good example where the personalized learning. If you already know something, maybe you were in honors classes, and you're taking a class, and you already know most of the material. It'd be much more efficient to compress that down or learn something new and extend that knowledge versus go through the same thing that everybody else is that who's never seen anything on the topic before.
Well, I mean, college is the most blatant example of why of learning based on time, and everyone sits
Mhm.
down in that classroom for the same amount of time that semester. That's it.
Yeah,
But how much did those people learn is super valuable, right?
it is.
And so that's what we all very accustomed to do. And in the same class, you may actually absorb a particular concept really well and even make a career out of it, while the same person that was sitting right next to you will take another topic and be an expert on that topic and make a whole career out of it. And both of you came from the
Yeah,
same course.
that's interesting to think about, but you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe that could have been two separate courses that for one person lasted 5 days and for another one lasted a full semester.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Is this something you're thinking about employee onboarding? Does this same kind of process work for new client onboarding where you
Yes,
can give them that type of experience?
absolutely. We have customers that use our technology, especially they're very technical and that requires a lot of training in order to be able to take advantage of the technology that use our platform to create courses for their customers so they can learn how to use their products. So it's not about educating their staff, it's about educating their customers. And so yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it seems like a really, really good use case for that. And
Yes.
just, providing that onboarding experience that's really high quality, high touch, personalized.
Yeah, and even beyond that is the ability to continue to educate the customers because most products right now actually have additional releases throughout the lifespan of the product, and a lot of providers struggle with, okay, how do I train or upskill my customers into the new version? And so we have customers that running like mini universities for the products and for the
Hmm.
customers. I mean, certification programs have always existed, but they were always third party. Like somebody else will take on the work of creating the certification, and usually the provider is not the one that does it. Hire somebody else to do that, and it's expensive. And here, the manufacturer or the technology creator gets to do on their own certification.
That's good.
Hmm.
Well, there are lots of new AI tools coming out and a lot of activity in the education sector, particularly online education.
Yes.
What are some of the biggest challenges you've encountered and how'd you overcome those?
So Jeff, I actually built one of the fastest growing online universities in the US, and lots of challenges, and they have changed over the years. Back then was that learning management system was really terrible. So, and
Yeah,
and at the time we at Full Sail University where I was, we designed our own because we really believed in the learning experience as a whole, not having the LMS dictate experience. And today there plenty of good options for universities and for companies for learning platforms, and we're one of them. And then there was the challenges of customer or learner support, and how do you support a learner that you don't see, that you can just call into an office and have a conversation, and that is actually a student at times that you're not working. Most of the online learning takes place at night, on weekends, and advisors don't want to work nights on weekends, and the moment that they're checking out to go home with their family is when the learner is coming in and needs to be supported. And but we people have overcome organizations have overcome that. Now there's so much self-serving stuff that also just the university actually shifted everybody's schedule to serve the learner. And today the challenges are different. The challenges are more about how do I make sure that the learner actually learn. And before it was more a problem of distribution and how do we get the learning to the people. And today that
okay.
problem is basically solved. And you can do several types of training. In online training used to be only asynchronous. I could watch a video, read something. The structure will not be there with me. Today you can do synchronous teaching with Zoom, with all these tools that you have. So that got solved too. And one is not better than the other. It's just great to have the options to have several ways to connect with your learner. And the problem that have not got solved is the problem of evaluation. How do I make sure that the learning is that everybody masters the material? And I
Yeah.
think that those are the new challenges that we're having. How do I create personalized learning? How do I make sure that every learner is going to maximize their experience? And that those are the challenges moving forward that I think now with generative AI we can solve. We finally can solve it. We've been talking about this for 20 years, and at least since I've been in it. And to be fair, 20 years ago, people didn't talk too much about evaluation of learning. It wasn't something that was top of mind for educators. You can't believe that. Today it's very much top of mind. People really, and educators and trainers, and they really want to make sure that the learner is maximizing the knowledge.
Yeah. Ready to future proof your company and scale to new heights? Dive into the ultimate resource designed just for SaaS founders and C suite executives. Champion Leadership Group gives you an unfair advantage in scaling up revenue and outwitting competitors. Imagine solving your biggest scaling headaches and hitting 5, 10, 20 million ARR and beyond with ease. We take away the guesswork and the grunt work and replace it with framework by supporting you with our on demand fractional C suite team, a powerful operating system built into software, and a thriving community of fellow scaling SaaS founders. That's how we make it happen. If you're stuck at your current revenue level, this is your ticket out. Feel like your company is the world's best kept secret? We amplify your success. And hey, if you're already crushing it but too busy to breathe, we got your back. We'll free up 20% of your time in the first month. Now is the time to upgrade from traction to scale. If you're ready to work smarter and not just grind harder, schedule a 10-minute growth brainstorm. Completely free, not a sales call. You can't buy anything on there. And we will pinpoint the number one thing blocking revenue. Visit championleadership.com. That's where leaders evolve and companies transform. Yeah. Do you have specific strategies built into the tool to engage people who maybe are not super excited about the topic or about the education? There's some that are going to be they just consume it all, and there's others that like kind of like I said in the beginning, they're doing it because they have to. Are there ways to engage them and really get them involved so that they do get that knowledge?
That's a great question. So learning motivation, it is another elusive problem, and that's
It is.
various research around the impact of motivation in the learning process, right? And so today we don't have to, other than doing personalized learning. So through the skills simulation, we can talk to you, Jeff, that do this job and trying to learn about this topic. And now I'm going to act as a customer and then engage you that way, or I'm going to act as an instructor, an expert, and engage you that way, or I'm going to act as a process and engage you that way. And that definitely helps the motivation. Using audio also helps the motivation because listening, multimodal sensor is important. People are more engaged if you're engaging several sensors. And I think that we'll still have a long way to go there in terms of like, what is your energy level right now? Maybe we don't touch on this topic right now. Maybe we'll touch on this other topic. And maybe we'll slow it down. And maybe we go and check on the foundational knowledge just to give you confidence first. And then we engage into something more complicated. There are definitely tools. Automating those tools would be a really fun journey to be on.
Yeah. That's really, really interesting just to think that through
Yeah.
and solving the problems. I mean, you definitely solved the one where, LMS systems, I mean, they've been around for a while,
Yes.
but you're right. There were a lot of limitations to that. And we used them because that's what we had. That was what there was. And I think it's really fascinating just how far that's come
Yes.
and just the things that can be done today that couldn't be done even, 3 or 4 years ago.
Absolutely, absolutely. A problem that digital learning introduced was that you need to be a very self-motivated learner in order to succeed.
Yes.
And because you don't sit in a classroom, somebody's just put feeding you the information, and you got to kind of retract it. And so there's some work to be done there for sure.
Yeah. And that's hard because sometimes there is motivation, but sometimes it's training that's assigned by a company. Everybody has to go to this training or compliance,
Yeah.
and that's just a beating. Everybody has to go through the same compliance training every year, and if you can take that and make it where it's fun and engaging and personalized, like you said, that's a completely different experience.
Yeah, compliance
And
is such
go,
an interesting topic because, and I talked a lot to customers this week, like at least three conversations with three customers about compliance. Because compliance is not only a pain for the learner, it's a pain for the content creator.
of course,
And so
of
if you're
course,
a learning department, you're like, oh, let's just create those compliance courses first. That should be great. You're not really thinking
Yeah.
that. And who's up for creating the regulation in California course? And it's hard. You gotta find the regulation, understand it, think about what's the learning outcomes that you want to have out of it. How do you test it? How do you evaluate it? And what's the best way to give that in a format that people will consume it? So all of those things, Pete does automatically.
Oh,
So our customers
that's
love to
good.
do compliance courses. I have customers are talking to us just to do compliance through us. They already have a
That's
training
really big.
department. It's like, how about we do all the compliance with you? It's like, perfect. Let's do that.
Yeah. Just you going through those steps and thinking about compliance and how to put the training together. I mean, it just inside and it's like, oh, it sounds so awful. Yeah.
Instead, you just drag it into Feed and then give him some instructions on how and then it just goes and creates a course for you.
Yeah. Well, being in the online education space, I mean, of course, creativity, innovation for your own team. How do you do that and keep them motivated and trained and kind of on the front edge of that, and also aligned with the company's mission?
We think about a lot about this because we think that our software is most effective when you reach a particular size, and I think after 50 to 100 employees is where usually what I call organic training, which is when people train each other, and works really well. So we're still really small. And to be the perfect customer for our own software, which is an interesting way to,
Okay.
but nevertheless, we're doing it, and we are creating our own onboarding using our own software, and starting to do sales training with our own software as well. And yeah, we have to, which also give us use cases to present to other people, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So, having been in big companies, small companies, so what advice would you give other SaaS leaders looking to build cross-functional teams and tackle complex challenges like online education?
So if you're in your own startup doing the cross functional, it's a little easier, but you have a full decision making over who you bring. And in that case, my recommendation is always to have good mentors to tell you, and your investors or your advisors, people that have done it before, so that you make sure that you make fewer mistakes, and you hire in the roles that are when the time is right for them, and that are gonna make the most impact as you grow. And so it could be first engineers because you had to build the product, and then you had to move to salespeople that have to sell it. And then at some point, you have to have a marketing team to create leads for the salespeople to talk to so they can sell the product. And you start scaling like that. But it may be a different journey for a different type of company. When you are doing a cross-functional team to create something new inside a large organization, then it's a little different. And because many times they don't give you a budget and say go hire people. They tell you, well, go try it, and then it's about convincing people to do extra work without actually getting paid for it, and so that you can prove the concept, so that you can earn your way to that budget to do the work. And but I actually think that showcase more leadership skills. It's a lot harder to convince somebody to do something for you because we think it's a good idea than because we're just gonna pay you extra for it. Either way, I just try to find those people that really want to solve that problem too. Oh, first, and so no
Oh, that's
resistance
good.
there. So
Yeah.
they're happy to come work for you and put the extra work because they want to solve the same problem, and or they want to solve any problem that you want to solve because they seen your track record. And it was easier for me over the years to recruit people inside the university to do new projects because they have seen that my efforts creating new things created new careers for people,
Ah,
and we're able to take on new roles and grow because of the things that were built from scratch. So sometimes people will come to me, next time you're doing something new, please call me. I'll do whatever you want me to do, and that's great. What you don't want to do again is have retractors.
yeah. Yeah.
And the other side of big organizations is that it's a daily getting away with murder activity. And what I mean by that is that large organizations have processes and policies that are there for good reasons, but are there because
Yep.
you became big and you need to manage by that. And so some of them are going to actually be detrimental to something small trying to grow fast,
Yeah.
right? And but also a large organization has resources, people, money, vendors, a lot of relationships that will also help you grow fast if you leverage them. So you have to pick and choose the things that are going to help you grow and not use the things that are not going to help you grow. And some people have a real problem with that. And but
Yeah.
it's exactly what you need to do. I'm sorry, we're not going to follow that policy because we need to grow faster. I cannot follow the procurement process that takes 2 months to get an eraser here. And I need to be able to buy direct. And but yes, please invite me to that meeting with Google because I love to present them with this idea. And so sometimes it becomes a very politics job, and it's really hard at the beginning. It gets easier with better track record.
Yeah. Yeah. Or SaaS founders that are looking to incorporate AI into their existing
Yes,
platforms or offerings, what steps should they take or how should they think about it to ensure a successful implementation and adoption
right.
by customers?
Great question. Number one is to really embrace it. Is is to basically assume that he needs it. He may not need it. I highly doubt it. But
Right, right.
but thinking, well, let me see if my customers will ask for it, or let me see, let me wait and see if it's something that we should be considering. That is not what you want to do. The better exercise to do is this new technology is here. Let me find all the places in which my software can use it, my organization can use it, my customers can use it, and do the analysis of the whole value chain with it. And more likely like not, you will find more than one place and in which it's gonna make you faster, or it's gonna make you more efficient, or it's gonna help you deliver better service.
Oh, it's really, really smart. And it's those two pieces together. It's the implementation, like you were saying. Do we need it? Probably. And then the adoption. So how are they using it? What's the real benefit or driver
Yeah.
behind
The
that?
only caveat to that I've seen, for instance, in our space in learning management systems, we've seen a very shallow way implementing. Of course, that's easy for me to say because our platform was born from AI, so we're a native AI platform. So it was thought always
Sure.
using that technology at the core, which is a different exercise if you have already a functioning platform that you want to integrate that to. But
Right.
with that said, some folks have rushed into, well, let me just make sure that every text edit window is connected to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And that works. It will make you write faster, and that's great. But I don't think that takes full advantage of the technology, and it's good for us because while they're doing that, we continue to integrate. But I think that you wanna think beyond just doing the obvious. Is there a whole nother tool set that you can build because you have this technology that you were not even doing before? Is there an adjacent problem that your software is not addressing right now because you don't have the technology for it, that now you could add and develop and implement and deploy and then integrate into your software? You want to go beyond the obvious, and
Yes.
because everybody's going to do the obvious. Everybody's going to have a
Right.
text edit, an open text edit window, connect to ChatGPT so you write faster, and everybody's going to do that. What is the problem that you've been unable to solve that now you can solve because of it? That's what you want to think about.
Really, really good way to think about it.
Mhm.
Well, where can people learn more about you and about Pete online?
Well, and we have the easiest domain there is
You
pete.com,
do.
and PETE. We appreciate if you go to pete.com/podcast so we know that it came from a podcast, and just you can read everything about us. And if you like to learn more, give us your information. We'll call you right back.
Excellent. We'll make sure and link all of that in the show notes. Luis, been such a great conversation. Thanks for being on SaaS Fuel.
Thank you so much. I was looking forward to it, and it was great.
Thanks again, Luis, for coming on the show and sharing your journey and insights. You can learn more about Luis and Pete Learning at petelearning.com. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to check us out on YouTube as well at Champion Leadership, We've got full video episodes of the podcast, training, outtakes, shorts, lots of stuff over there for you on YouTube. Thought leaders share. Share this episode with anyone who still thinks that AI is just a fad, kind of like bell bottoms and fax machines. Everyone who shares this week gets a virtual pet. It feeds itself, updates its own firmware, and reminds you to hydrate often because, it's living its best AI life. What if AI could help you scale your business while reducing repetitive tasks and future proofing your operations? Join us Thursday on our SaaS Fuel Expert Series as Michael Greenberg, founder and CEO of Third Brain Digital Operations, shares how automation and AI are transforming sales, marketing, and business growth. Want to turn your contact center into a powerhouse of personalized customer experiences? Join us next time as Alex Levin, CEO of Regal.io, reveals how voice AI is revolutionizing customer service and reshaping the future of human AI collaboration. I'll see you next time, and as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/SaaSFuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.